This is the next lecture, that is the second lecture of the topic health and disease. Okay, so in the previous lecture we have discussed a lot about the different types of diseases. We have discussed about the definition of health and also how the infectious diseases are spread from one person to another. So mainly now we will talk about some of the topics, like what are the different means of spread of the diseases. So we'll talk about the means of spread now, how the infectious diseases are spread from one person to another. Okay, so by the air. So we can talk about in this part that some types of diseases are airborne, like they can spread from one infected person to the other by sneezing or coughing. Whenever droplets are being given out or breathed out by someone and breathed in by the healthy person, then that healthy person may have the chance of getting that infection from the droplets. So for example, a common cold, cough, pneumonia, tuberculosis, these are airborne, and these are easier to spread from one person to another because the droplets can recirculate from one person to the other, and there is a risk for the people who are nearby that infected person to suffer from those type of diseases, airborne diseases like common cold, pneumonia, tuberculosis, like this. So overcrowded place and also the poorly ventilated houses can have the worst effect from this airborne diseases. So whenever someone is suffering from cough and cold, what we tell, to put on this handkerchief in front of the mouth so that droplets can never be transmitted from that person to the other. Similarly, in this time, you are now going through the phase of this COVID-19 situation, where you can see that this virus is also passed on from one person to another through the droplets. So we are advised to use what? Face mask, so that the droplets cannot be transmitted from one person to the other. And we should also be maintaining distance so that the droplets cannot travel to a long distance and go to the healthy person. Okay, so social distancing is what? To maintain a gap from the infected persons or whoever is suffering from the cough and cold, so that why this social distancing is done, to prevent these germs to move from one place to another, from one person to another. They cannot travel for a long distance, so this distancing has to be maintained. You should not sit side by side with a person who is suffering from cough and cold. Just maintain distance to prevent the disease. Then we have the waterborne diseases, which are caused or spread through the water. The water sometimes may be contaminated with different types of infectious pathogens, and this water, if they are consumed, will be the one of the important cause for the diseases like cholera, amoebiasis. Okay, so these microbes are passed on from one person to another by drinking water. So these germs are present where? In the water. So before drinking, water should be properly purified because they are full of the pathogens. Next, the diseases can be transmitted by sexual contact. This is sexually transmitted diseases like syphilis and AIDS. They can be transmitted from one person to another by sexual contact. And there are some of the diseases that can be spread through the vectors. In the last lecture also I told that vectors are what? These are the organisms that carry the pathogens. They will carry these pathogens from one person to another. So, from a sick person to a healthy person, these animals will carry the germs. So, these are called what? Vectors. The carriers of the disease are called the vectors, not the cause, but the carriers of the disease, who will carry the disease, is called the vectors. So, for example, malaria is caused by the bite of the Anopheles mosquito, and they are the vectors of the malarial fever. So, when they bite a person who is suffering from malaria, they will get the sporozoites of the Plasmodium. Plasmodium, I told in the previous lecture that Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium falciparum, these are all protozoa that cause what? Malaria. So the Anopheles mosquito, the female Anopheles mosquito, will bite a human being for getting the blood, and while biting they can transmit the sporozoites of the protozoa Plasmodium to a healthy person. Wherefrom did the Anopheles mosquito get the sporozoites? By biting a person who is suffering from malaria. So this vector, this Anopheles, will carry the disease causing pathogen Plasmodium from a person who is suffering from malaria to a healthy person. So diseases can be spread through the vectors also. Now we will talk about organ specific and tissue specific manifestation. That means what? Whenever any germ enter our body through any organ, and then the target organ will be related to the organ through which they have entered. So our body is very large, as you all know, as compared to the microorganism. Our body is very large, so they can reach each and every cell of our body, each and every organs of our body through various routes, and they can affect the tissues and the organs. So for example, what we can say, if the organisms enter through the nose, their target will be the lungs. The direct target will be the lungs, because through the nose the respiratory passage will end in where? Lungs. So this is how the tuberculosis causing germs, that is the bacteria, will enter into the body through the nose and then straight away into the lungs, and this will cause what? Tuberculosis. Now if any pathogen enter through the mouth, straight away they will go to the intestine or the liver, and they may cause typhoid. If the infection is related to the intestine, then they can cause typhoid, and if they have proceeded towards liver, then it causes what? Jaundice. So these are the ways by which the organisms, that is disease causing organisms or pathogen, travel inside our body. Next, if the diseases are related to sexual contact like HIV, then the germs will enter through sexual contact, and then they will travel to the lymph nodes where they can cause immunity related disorders like HIV. Human immunodeficiency virus will enter from one person to the other by sexual contact, and through these they invade up to the lymph nodes in our body and disturb the immune system. The pathogens can also enter the body through the mosquito bite. After the mosquito, the Anopheles mosquito, female one, bites, then this sporozoites will enter the liver and then to the RBC. The sporozoites will go to the liver where they multiply. They go to the RBC where they multiply and increase their number. And they may also reach the brain, as in Japanese encephalitis. This is also caused by mosquito bite. So, what we are talking about here is the way through which the germs get inside our body and go to the target organs. Now, if you want to get the signs and symptoms of the diseases, then you can understand that if they go through the nose and travel towards the lungs, the symptoms will be cough and there will be breathing problem also. Then if the target organ will be liver, then the person can suffer from jaundice. If the target organ is brain, as in Japanese encephalitis, then also they will suffer from headache and fever. Okay, so different pathways may be followed by the germs or the pathogens, and they can produce different symptoms. Now, how to protect ourselves from the diseases will be totally dependent upon the immune system of the body. Immune system is essential for our health because it is the defense system. It protects our body from any sort of damage or any diseases. We might not suffer from any disease because of this immune system. If a person is having a good immune system, then that person will not suffer from any sort of deadly diseases. But if the immune system is very weak, then the person can fall ill very often. So what is this immune system? This is the defense system that protects the body from the diseases. Okay, so there are two types of cells which are present in our body, the T lymphocytes and the B lymphocytes. The T lymphocytes helps the B lymphocytes to release antibodies. What antibodies? To fight against the pathogens. What are these pathogens? Pathogens are disease-causing organisms. So fighting in the disease-causing organisms, the B lymphocytes will release what? Antibodies. Okay, the T lymphocytes, the T cells, help the B cells to release what? Antibodies to fight with the what? With the pathogens. So, see the situation here. When the microbes enter the immune system, okay, so there will be a lot of release of the B lymphocytes. So cells are released from the immune system to fight with the microbes. To fight with whom? To fight with the microbes. Now you can see here the cells are traveling towards the microbes for fighting, and then the place where the fighting take place will become hotter. There will be swelling, it will be redness there will be pain, and there will be fever. So this situation is called what? Inflammation. Whenever your body is infected with some germs, and after 1 day or 2 days you can see that you are suffering from fever. The main symptom of fighting inside the body between the antibodies and the pathogen is the fever. So you get fever. In any organ, if it is infected, then you will have swelling and pain with redness in that organ. So this is called what? Inflammation. And when you are suffering from fever, that means the body is infected and there is a fighting going on between the antibodies and the pathogens. The antibodies want to kill and remove these pathogens from the body. So we suffer from fever because of that infection that has gone inside our body. Okay, so is it clear? The immune system is very, very important in our body to fight against the diseases, the disease-causing germs. They have to be eliminated outside the body. And who will do this? The antibodies, right? Sometimes we develop some sensitivity towards any food or any items which can be called as allergens. This is called what? The items are called allergens, and the effect that we get is the allergy. Sometimes there can be skin rashes, itching, vomiting, stomach pain. So many symptoms can be there for allergy. So this is also one way of fighting away the pathogens by the body's defense system. And when they overreact, actually, then we get the allergy. First is this inflammation and fever and all. If they overreact, the body's immune system, if they overreact with any of the foreign bodies, then that is called what? Allergy. We are sensitive to certain items which are called what? Allergens, which they go inside our body and cause what? Allergic conditions. Okay, and for the HIV virus, this AIDS virus, acquired immunodeficiency virus, this damages the total immune system. Okay, that is why the name is what? Acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. So if a person is infected with HIV, the total immune system is shut down and the person will not be able to fight even with the minor infections like cold and cough and all. Normal cold will not be removed, this disease causing this germs or the pathogens will not be removed from the body. They will not be able to protect or fight against the normal infections like common cold. And this also leads to what? Death, because total immune system is damaged by the human immunodeficiency virus. See the term immunodeficiency, that means it will cut down the immune system, it will damage the immune system of the body. That leads to death. So the severity of the disease manifestation depends upon the number of microbes, also how many microbes will enter the body. If less number of microbes enters the body, then the severity or the condition, the symptoms will be very less. If large number of microbes enter the body, then the disease can be severe, and also it can lead to the loss of the life. It can lead to death. So immune system is the major factor which will determine how many microbes will enter the body and how many will survive inside the body. So if the immune system is strong, the microbes will not increase in number. So by proper food and diet, with proper exercise and good habits, you can have a good immune system to fight against any disease. So better try to develop your own immune system, so that if any germ by chance enters your body, then your immune system will be capable to fight it off, right? And you will not suffer from any harmful diseases. Now we will talk about little bit about the antibiotics that you always see, that antibiotics are given to us whenever we are suffering from a particular type of disease, right? So when you are suffering from bacterial disease, okay, then antibiotics can work. So chemicals, these are the chemicals that are released by the microorganisms, okay, and this inhibit the growth of other microorganisms. Now these microorganisms release certain chemicals that will inhibit, that is stop the growth of other microorganisms. If you use antibiotics, this will not allow the growth of the microorganisms for which we are using the antibiotics. How they will inhibit the growth? Because they will block the biochemical pathways for the microorganism. There are certain biochemical reactions taking place in all of us, including the microorganism. So these biochemical pathways are very, very important for the life. And if these biochemical pathways are blocked, then that will inhibit or stop the growth of the microorganisms, right? So antibiotics works on this process. This will block the biochemical pathway of the microorganism and stop their growth. So as you all know, bacteria has a cell wall, okay? So if you take penicillin, then it will stop the growth of the cell wall of the bacteria. And when there will be no growth of cell wall, bacteria will die. So this is the normal or simple mechanism of blocking the biochemical pathway, that is the formation of the cell wall as a biochemical pathway. So this is blocked by the antibiotic penicillin and the bacteria dies slowly. Okay. Similarly, there are different types of antibiotics like penicillin, just now I have told, streptomycin, tetracycline, ampicillin and various others. So this type of antibiotics will act on the biochemical pathways to block the biochemical pathways, and this will act on the microorganisms. This will stop their growth. But this do not work against the viral diseases. The antibiotics do not work for the viral diseases. When the virus enters the cell, it will go and get inside the host body. That means if to which life the virus has entered, any human being or animal or plant to which the body the virus has entered, that body is called what? Host. The living body is called what? Host, who has got this virus. Now this will enter the cell, will affect the host body and will take control of the host cells. So this will take control of the host cells and continue its life processes. So it will pretend like it is the host. Okay, it will spread its kingdom into the host body. It will change itself according to the host cell and will carry on their life process, because virus don't have their own biochemical pathways. So there's no one to stop their biochemical pathways or block the pathways to stop their growth. So antibiotics will not work against the viral disease, because viral diseases are caused by virus. They don't have their own biochemical pathways. So today we have discussed up to this much, and in the next lecture we will be discussing about the different processes of treatment and prevention of infectious disease, which we have already discussed in the previous chapter, but in the next one we will discuss about the main methods of principles of treatment and prevention, and also we will get some idea about vaccination and the pulse polio programs.